Next morning, I took a quick bus ride to Cork's railway station. From there, I bought a train ticket for Cobh for €6. You can also use your open road pass to take the bus there, but given the fact that I'm seeking new experience to save time and risk of traffic jams, I decided to spend a little bit more to sit back and enjoy the ride and enjoy the scenery, including the price of your ticket. With that being said, we have arrived at Cobh train station, and welcome to Cobh. Oh, I forgot to welcome you to Cobh Heritage Centre, or Queenstown Experience, located right beside the station. The centre serves as a cafe for cruise ship visitors, but also a museum with free and paid exhibition of Irish history, with focus on 18th and the 19th centuries, covering mass immigrations, the Great Famine, on penal transportation to Australia, and on sinking of RMS Lusitania, as well as an exhibition on the history of RMS Titanic, whose last port of call before it sank was Cobh, then Queenstown. On the subject of penal transportation, I'm going to experience it firsthand. Just blocks away nearby piers, you'll see all the crazy people like myself eagerly await their ride across the shore to the Spike Islands, or formerly the world's largest prison. Although I'm a good swimmer, I don't think I can survive swimming across with all these professional camera equipments. So this is actually where you line up to get the tickets to get over to the Spike Island. I don't think it's actually that far away. The ticket itself is basically €20. Not cheap, but if you bring your student card, you get a discount of €3, so $7.50. But that being said, let's hope this will be as fast and smooth. So we are on our way over to the island right now, so on this ferry. And one thing about it is, I like it is like, the water is really calm. Right beside the most ugliest cruise ship I've ever seen. But thank goodness I'm not on, or else I'll be complaining. With that being said, I think we're approaching at this moment. The total size of the Spike Island is 103 acres and formerly the site of a monastic settlement. The island's strategic location within the harbour meant it was used at times for defense as well as a prison, the largest in the British Empire to be exact, and gaining a reputation as Ireland's Alcatraz. However, since the early 21st century, the island had been developed into a heritage tourist attraction. With those who needed a mobile assistance, there is a free shuttle to and from different points on the island. I decided to take on the offer given how heavy my filming gear is, and the first stop is the prisoner's graveyard. Sadly, this is actually one of the mass graves, and how it become a mass grave is during the Victorian era, there's just way too many people dying, so they had to take out all the headstones and start piling the bodies in here. Today, a lot of the bodies being exhumed and perhaps give a proper burial. The reason there were so many people dying is because of the mass famine and compounded by cholera and other Victorian diseases. The island's recorded history goes back 1300 years, beginning with the 7th century when Saint Mochuada founded the monastery on the island. The monks occupied it for more than 300 years until the Vikings sailed into Cobh Harbour. In 1779, the work began on a fortress, and this will become the impressive 24-acre Fort Mitchell, which crowned the islands today. Able to garrison 3,000 men, and with guns that could fire shells 12 miles. The fort was so important that Winston Churchill called Spike Island the Sentinel Tower of the defense of the Western Europe.
Look like I'm the only bad boy here in this entire island. The maximum security prison. Oh gosh, I can be so lonely. If you guys want to rescue me, there's a helicopter pad right here. And I'm ready to be out here at any given time when there's a... See you soon.
The island's prison was opened in 1847 to deal with a growing number of convictions for theft during the Great Famine, and maintained in use as a garrison and prison throughout the Irish War of Independence, when the IRA prisoners were held here. One of the museums showcased independent exhibits, showcasing 700 years of British occupation and many failed uprisings to successful path to its freedom, focusing on the periods of 1914 to 1938. Through the eyes of Spike Island. Over 1,400 Irish War of Independence prisoners were held here on island's huge internment camps at its peak until the signing of Anglo-Irish Treaty. Many of men would simply live off the street and in prison without a fair trial.
You are hereby sentenced to a term internment.
Propped up in a chair or shot in that condition.
Before the Victorian times, there was no distinction between the age group when it comes to crime and punishment. There was 100 children who were held in very harsh conditions, and were specially designated children's dormitory in the 19th century. The punishment block is the only purpose-built cell block in the fort. It was built in response to a murder of Warner William Reddy in 1856. The block consists of 28 solitary confinement cells and housed a penal class, considered to be the most dangerous prisoners. They were heavily chained and clothed in black head to toe, with a veil hiding all but their eyes. The cell was furnished only with a stool, and convicts slept on the floor. There were several suicide attempts, and the block was the main reason that Spike Island was described as hell on earth by the penal class. Another one of the exhibit is a gun part, showcasing the coastal defense spanning over 300 years of warfare. It includes some of Spike Island's oldest artillery pieces dating from the late 1700s. As well, the searchlight previously used around the harbor that could illuminate targets up to 3,700 meters in distance. There are also many military service vehicles, such as Laylaw retriever lorries, served for the Irish Army from 1940 to 1970s, anti-aircraft guns, many with radars, and as well, tanks. Lots of them. As well, good luck and have fun on your bird hunting practice. Now, at the height of the British Empire, Cobh Harbour is actually a very important British naval base. It's actually a very important vehicle assembly line, and as well as a supply center. Now, during the First World War, Spike Island was actually the home to the headquarters to the South Irish Coastal Defence. So following the handover to the Irish government in 1938, it became a very, once again, important Irish army base. Now, I'm coming to the end of the visit here. I have to say one thing. Make sure you bring proper walking shoes, because honestly, you will be walking quite a bit here.
and it's really big, and they say recommended hour 3.5 hours, and yes, it will take up that much of the time, but it's a very pleasant visit. With that being said, just head back down to the harbor and get across and see what else is going on the other side.
They're nearby. Actually, the best bet is to ask them.
After serving my sentence, I was released back to mainland Cobh. I'm determined to be a better person and a reborn Catholic, so on top of my list is paying a church a visit. That's not going to be difficult since there's a mighty iconic church up the hill overlooking Cobh, the St. Colman's Cathedral, the home to Diocese of Cloyne. The cathedral is an exquisite gem of neo-Gothic architecture and took 47 years to build, starting in 1868 until its completion in 1911, and has been part of the Cobh skyline ever since. The cathedral was named after the patron saint of the diocese, St. Colman's Mark Lennon, and was inspired by the great cathedral of medieval France such as Chartres and Amiens. Most notable is 100-meter high spires and a tower that includes 42 bell carillons, one of the largest in Europe. Today, the St. Colman's Cathedral is the only Irish Catholic Victorian cathedral to preserve its interior fully intact and continue to hold religious service and often hosts recitals featuring choirs from all over the world.